Welcome to Lost All Caps.
What the fuck was that?
Well, instead of an intro line today, I thought I'd just do a headbutt.
Ah!
It's the best part of the episode.
The iconic headbutts, of course.
Actually, really sensible decisions
Yeah, I
from
wasn't
me.
quite sure what you were doing. I thought you were just testing the volume in a really weird way or something.
You did look at me very blankly. Welcome to Lost All Caps. I'm Ariel.
And I'm Velvet.
Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah! 2025.
2025.
That's not a real year. That's a year from a sci-fi movie.
But we're here,
And it's not sci-fi.
unfortunately.
I've not gone to the moon even once.
I know.
What is that all about?
I mean, the best we've got in terms of robots is like a fucking Roomba.
And we don't even own one of those.
No. It's disappointing. It's just, you know, I'm not going to lie to you on this podcast.
No.
It's disappointing. It is. But I hope you guys are having a good New Year. We're disappointed over here, but
I'm ringing in the new year with a sinus infection, so if I sound raspy, that's why. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a good New Year. I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas break.
do you have any New Year's resolutions, Velvet?
I don't think so. My New Year's resolution last year was to learn to swim.
And you did that.
And I did do that, sort of. I
That's exciting.
swam.
This year, I think my resolution is probably just going to be to talk more about Lost.
Yeah.
I don't think I do that enough.
I really feel like the world needs more of us talking about Lost.
I think it does, you know, and let's give the people what they want.
So should we jump right in?
I think we should.
Let's go.
What a perfect segue.
So, hitting off this episode, we have Kate in a tree.
Yeah, so it's whatever the case may be this week. We didn't say that.
We didn't say that. It's whatever the case may be.
Guys, you should be following. You should be up to date.
Well, it's in the title of the episode. So you clicked on this and it said whatever the case may be. I feel like I don't need to hold
You're
your
like,
hand on this one.
what? Huh? What? I think I said last time, it was a long time ago when we recorded, but that I hate the title of this episode.
You do, yes.
With
Why don't
a
you tell the
burning
people
passion.
why you hate this episode title?
Because it's just shit and cringe. It's
Do you
like,
get it?
oh, fuck you.
But do you get the joke though?
Using my own tactic against me.
Because it's a case. Because it's a case, whatever the case may be.
Yes, I understand the reference. I really don't like the title because I just think it's... And also we've just had All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, right?
It's the best, which is the best
Which is
episode
the
title
best episode
in the whole
title.
show.
Yeah, in any media I'd venture.
Best episode title, I think, of all time.
Of all time. And then we have this, which is not the worst one in Lost, let alone in every media ever, but
it's not great.
it's pretty shit, and it kind of is giving Lord of the Files energy.
Yeah.
Someone thought of it in the writer's room, and they went, okay.
I think in this case, what they did was it was a Lord of the Files moment, and then they probably just couldn't think of anything better.
Couldn't think of anything better, yeah.
They were like, well, let's just go with whatever the case may be.
Whatever. It's not like in 20 years' time, you know, two weirdos are going to be talking about it for 20 minutes on air, putting that out to the public.
And yet here we are.
So yeah, but despite that, I do think it's quite a good episode.
I have mixed feelings on this episode.
Ooh, okay.
Because of my dislike of Sawyer.
Yes.
And he really amps up the creepy horribleness in this episode.
He do.
But in general, in terms of plot, I think it's a good episode. I like the flashbacks. I think the flashbacks are really fun.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah, I was thinking more about the flashbacks, I guess. Like, I said before that I got quite annoyed when we first watched it that we got a second Jack episode before we got a first episode for some of the characters. But I think because we'd already had that, I was less annoyed about getting a second Kate episode.
Yeah, it's like it was an established thing that we'd get more than one flashback for certain characters.
And
yeah.
I think it's quite an exciting and quite good lore drop for Kate.
It is, yeah.
It's fun seeing this kind of narrative play out.
Yeah, and like the plane.
The
What does it
plane is crazy.
It's, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
Yeah.
But like the end of this episode is it's one of those leaves you just being like, what's that bit in The Simpsons? That flashback raised more questions than it answered.
Yeah. And we talked about The Simpsons parody.
I don't think we have. If you're not aware, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer it's a treadmill with TV on.
Yes.
So he can exercise, and he starts watching Lost. What's it called?
It's called Stranded, which I think is the perfect spoof name for Lost. Because it's just close enough for it to seem like it's real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's really funny. There's some great, like, Matt Groening did basically designs of all the main characters.
Mm-hmm. And there are so many funny, like, in-jokes for Lost fans.
So many brilliant jokes. I'd really recommend watching that episode. Or even just, like, you can find a compilation on YouTube that's just all the scenes where Stranded features. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Part of that is... that flashback raised more questions than it answered, and I think that just kind of sums up the whole show.
Completely.
And he gets really obsessed with it. He has all these notebooks, and he binge watches it all, and it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
And there's also a little cameo. There's a little Futurama cameo in there as well, which is Matt Groening's other TV show.
Is there?
Yeah, they go into a cave and they find, like, alien lettering on the cave wall.
And it's the
and
alien
if you translate
language.
it with the alien alphabet that's used in Futurama, it says, like, watch Futurama Thursdays at 7 p.m.
That's
and
so
I just
nerdy.
think it's so funny.
Brilliant. So yeah, why did we get onto that?
I was talking about the plane, the flashback. I have some great notes for this beginning line of this episode. I'm just going to read them to you.
Go for it.
She's so high up that tree.
She do be high up that tree.
Immediately followed by, throw rocks at him until he dies. Immediately followed by, take the damn jeans off.
Fantastic.
So those are my opening thoughts on this episode. I don't think I need to say more, really. I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah. I also wrote down throw rock at man.
Yeah. Me Kate, me throw rock. That was supposed to be an insult, but...
Honestly...
That's correct.
She's so real for that.
Throw rocks at him until he dies.
Honestly, we've all had the urge to throw a rock at Sawyer.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect way to respond to him.
Yeah. I think she's... First of all, let's go back to the first one. She's so high up in that tree.
She is. So we have a really, really long panning shot, and it ends with her so high up a tree. I mean, whether she was actually that high or not, because it would have been a health and safety risk, surely.
I guess. I mean, it's very high. I would assume that's some kind of, like... Well, ordinarily I would assume that was some kind of set piece. But actually, as we know, basically all of the show was filmed on location in Hawaii.
And we also know from the behind-the-scenes stuff that Evangeline Lilly loves climbing trees.
Yeah.
They always say, like, we basically can't get her down from the trees.
So maybe what happened is they just went, okay, and for this scene you're going to be in the tree, and then they turned around to pick up the camera, and they turn back, and she's up in the air.
She's up there.
And she's like, I'm fine, just film me from here.
Yeah. Or even better, they say, okay, so we need you to be in an area of the jungle that we've not seen before. She's like, up a tree. I'll go up the tree.
And I did keep thinking about her hiding from the marshal in a tree. I can't stop thinking about that now every time she's in a tree. Yeah, and the other note I have goes from one kind of creepy to a very different kind, which I think sums up the beginning of this episode quite well as well, to then going back to the other kind of creepy.
And we're back again.
And then back again.
Yeah. Completely. So that opening sequence, let's talk about it, like the sort of pre-title sequence, which is quite long, but we actually don't get a flashback in there, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So one little detail that you might not have noticed, listeners out there, but something that actually our dad pointed out to me when we first watched it is the bag that Kate is wearing, where she's putting all the fruit in, the strap is made from a seatbelt that was on the plane.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like there's sort of a shot of her from behind and you can see like the buckle. And then later on when you see the skeletons, they're wearing the same seatbelts. So it's really nice kind of parallel to be like, you know, using resources from the crash, but also remembering like how far we've come and how far we haven't come.
Yeah, I think this return to plane crash victims is really interesting in this episode, especially with the whole, the like B plot on the beach being that the tide is dragging all the debris into the water and they have to like you know, go and collect their bags and move further up the beach. It's like the island wants them to forget about the plane.
Ooh, I like that idea.
That it's getting sucked into the ocean. It's like, you live here now. This is your life. And as viewers, we've kind of started to forget about that, and we're very like in on the world. We've got, you know, this concept of others and the whispers and, you know, the metal under the island, and we're all about the island now. And I think this, like, the dead bodies under the lake is a really fun reminder that it was only like a couple of weeks ago. It's not been a long time that they were on that plane.
Completely. And also, like, that's a really good point that I'd not considered, but it is a massive change of pace. And Kate's character definitely kind of reverts back to, like, an off-island
mindset.
Yeah.
Take the damn jeans off has a lot less profundity to it. It's just, why did he take off all of the other clothes and not the jeans?
I know.
As much as I have deep hatred for the underwear that they've put Kate in, at least she's taken off her trousers.
Yes.
To get in the water, you know?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's still bad.
It's very male gazy and
but from a practical perspective, at least she's taken off the trousers.
Yeah. I mean, she's not going to be getting way down. But yeah, like, why the fuck is she in that kind of ridiculous thong situation? It's not thong, but you know what I mean?
At no point in her backstory does it make any sense for her to be wearing those. Like,
No.
let's work back. Island.
Yeah.
Not practical.
No.
Arrested. Not practical.
No.
On a farm. Not practical.
Mm-mm.
Even in the bank robbery, even if that happened 2 days before she joined the farm, not a practical time to be wearing that kind of underwear. When did she put those on?
Yeah, I don't know. And why did she put those on?
Why did she put those on?
I will say it did kind of remind me of, there's a bit in Alien where Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley, she's like sat down, she's kind of like reflecting. Maybe I think she's writing a journal entry or something, or maybe doing like an audio log or something to describe
Captain's
what's
log.
happened. Captain's
Stargate
log.
417 whatever.
0.62. And it starred date, by the way. Fucking amateur. And she's like explaining the whole thing about the alien and stuff, and it's kind of like an iconic image where she's basically in like a vest and pants, and she has the cat with her.
Oh,
And
it's in Futurama.
It is in Futurama, yeah.
Wheeler and Nibbler, yeah.
It's parodied in Futurama. And she has underwear that's kind of similar to that. So I was like, okay, maybe because the writers are super big sci-fi nerds, they've done that on purpose to be like a little nod towards that. Or it's like a correlation, not causation type of thing, where
Both
it's like...
films were directed by men.
Yes.
Yeah.
The male gaze, essentially. The cinematic male gaze is the answer.
Yeah. I think likely the cinematic male gaze, but I'd like to think it's an intertextual reference.
Mm-hmm.
What a great quote. So something about this episode that I'd actually forgotten, that like in the grand scheme of the plot, it kind of goes out of your head, is that going after Claire is actually still a big priority.
Yeah.
So it feels a lot like in these episodes, immediately after that, because it's not like a Jack flashback and it's not a Charlie or whatever, like it's a Kate flashback, that the narrative kind of forgets about the other stuff that's happened previously. But actually, they're not, you know? They talk about going to find Danielle again, and they talk about going out to look for her. And I think actually I was like, oh, okay, they didn't just forget about her immediately.
I think I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, because I think they do forget about her immediately. I'm like, Claire is fucking missing, and you bitches are all just here farting around, moving suitcases, and fighting in some kind of weed-like jungle.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff can go. But, you know, I see what you mean. But also, it's a big jungle. I mean, what are they gonna...
I don't know, like, get everyone split into different parties and go searching for her.
They could.
I mean, I guess that could be dangerous as well, to split up.
Yeah, and they don't know how many of these others there are. They don't know what are the dangers. There's still the elusive creature.
Yeah, but I just can't believe that, like, she's just straight up missing. She's been kidnapped, and we're all just like, time to have another episode about something else. Like, as a viewer, I was like, but Claire.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. As a viewer, I was like, but what's happening to Claire?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, there should, like, the Charlie and Rose plotline, that should have been the main. I was like, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about Charlie and Claire. But yeah.
I mean, I do see what you mean in that, like, we get some interesting scenes. Like, I actually think the scene between Jack and Saeed is really interesting because Jack is the one who's like, there are others that Rousseau talked about. We need to go and find her. And Saeed is the one who is like, it was the wind. He says, like, her mind is gone, which...
It's really interesting from Saeed, this episode, because clearly he is trying to rationalise what happened to him. Because he's a very practical character. He's a very sort of scientific character.
But Jack is as well.
But yeah.
Which is really interesting that he doesn't take that perspective at this point. I guess maybe because he's had his whole... He was very close to what happened.
I was going to say, yeah, he's like interacted with Ethan firsthand. He's had that fight with him. He knows how dangerous Ethan is. He's more concerned about kind of getting that information. But yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. And like Saeed being so insistent that Danielle has just kind of gone crazy, I think is really interesting in the context of the conversations that those two had, because it seemed a lot more like he'd started to understand how she thought, and I think a lot of it is him trying to rationalize just like he doesn't need to go back for her. She's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. There's nothing on the island. They need to focus on getting away. Like, he's trying to sort of reorient himself in that context.
Absolutely. He's trying to forget about his experience. If there was a hint of romance between Rousseau and Saeed, I think it was more on Rousseau's side. we'll be real here. But say he did sort of feel something romantic for her in a sense. Perhaps that's why he like kind of reorients himself towards Shannon as like a distraction from that, because he's almost trying to forget that he felt this way and is like trying to forget about her, and maybe he feels guilty for leaving her behind.
He's thinking like it's ridiculous that he was thinking those things, like she's clearly just crazy and isolated, and like he needs to focus on them. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
That's the only thing about Saeed and Shannon that makes sense.
Yeah, we're big haters of this relationship, by the way. Let's get this out in the open air now. Terrible. You know what the other good thing about the Saeed-Shannon relationship is? The chin in the hand moment.
It's so funny because I was re-listening to the Solitary episode recently, and I talk loads about Rousseau's little... There's one point where she's literally drugged Saeed, and then he wakes up like, what the fuck? And he's like... he's been sedated, and he wakes up and he's like, oh my god, he's chained to the seat, and then she's just sat there like, sorry about that, batting her eyelashes at him. And then he does that.
He pulls out the Rousseau move.
He does. Coincidence? Yeah, probably it was a coincidence.
Yeah, probably a coincidence.
But yeah, I do love his little, fair to say, baby girl pose.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm getting serious now. I'm about to propose a very important question to you.
Go on.
Who do you think's the most baby girl?
It's a tough question.
It is.
Who is the most baby girl? At this point in the narrative?
Obviously, yeah. I think it changes later on.
It changes. There's certain character developments and things that change.
And also, I don't think it's a massive spoiler now to say more characters get introduced. Is that a spoiler?
We've already met one more character.
This is the thing, like early on, listeners, we were really careful about trying to say that there were other characters in the show, but we've met like Rousseau and Ethan, who were both not in the crash.
Yeah.
And so I think even if it's like, maybe there aren't any more others and Ethan's just working alone, that's still a possibility. But I don't think it's been introduced as an idea now that more characters are going to get into the show.
There are certain characters that arise
through different avenues.
That are more baby girl.
And some of them are more baby girl than the survivors of the crash that we have at the minute. I would say
currently most baby girl. I'm gonna go with Charlie. But I think Saeed is up there. I also think Jack is up there, but that's because Jack is my number one baby girl. And has no bearing on the plot at all.
Jack has more baby girl than a lot of the other characters.
Yeah, I mean he's more baby girl than like John.
Is he though?
Yes, John's not baby girl.
John could be baby girl.
John's rat boy.
Is that the opposite to baby girl?
I don't know, I think. Well, what's the opposite of baby girl? Adult man. That's what Jack is. That's what John is.
John is an adult man.
He's an adult man. You heard it here first. John Locke is an adult man.
Copyright Lost All Caps 2025. I wonder if that might be the first time anyone said that. Copyright 2025.
Might be. Crazy.
Gang. What about Boone? You don't think Boone's baby girl?
I do think Boone's baby girl. I do. Boone was going to be the next one I brought up, but then we started talking about John being adult man.
I think Charlie and Boone
are
vying for the top spot of baby girl, I reckon.
You know?
Yeah,
Boone's
pretty boy.
Charlie's baby girl.
Aww, a match made in heaven.
But while we're talking about Shannon and Saeed.
Oh my god. I forgot we were talking about them.
Let's talk about the plot line.
Okay.
So, somewhere beyond the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Significance?
That's it. That's your whole point. Significance?
Well, that's my prompt. Let's discuss.
Okay.
So the song from the computer movie with the fish, which is one of my favourite things.
Yes, let's talk about that bitch.
So I love that so much because it's not like a fun, intentional thing. It's just a little thing that really dates the show.
Yeah.
Because the film, which if anyone wasn't aware is Finding Nemo, is so, like, the fact that it's like one of those computer movies.
Yeah. They
were a new thing.
It's really cool to sort of hear, like, people from the time be like, wow, it's amazing that we can make a whole movie via CGI.
New fun technology.
Yeah. Whereas now it's so commonplace, and even things like Finding Nemo look dated compared to more modern films. And also, like, no, I won't go on a massive tangent.
Are you going to talk about Knick Knack?
No, I wasn't going to talk about Knick Knack.
We don't get to talk about Knick Knack.
I was going to talk about a very recent Star Trek thing that had just been made, but we don't need to talk about that.
Okay, we don't. Yeah, I think the concept of the computer movie with the fish is just such a fun...
It's great! It's
and the
so
fact that
cute.
it's coming from, like, a character who's very, like, young and, like, trendy and, like, knows about new technology. Boone has that flip phone.
Yeah, but that's not why she knows about it.
No, but it's like it's exciting because she thinks it's new and cool. Like, if John had been like one of those computer movies, we would have been like, oh, it's like and you kids these days with your computer movies.
I see your point now. Yeah. No, completely. And also cool for us to kind of figure out that she's talking about Finding Nemo. That was fun. Yes, Beyond the Sea, Somewhere Beyond the Sea, I think is definitely significant because they're on an island.
They're stuck somewhere beyond the sea.
Yeah, completely. And they're like in this remote area where no one can get to them. Beyond the Sea.
Beyond the Sea. I was going to look up the lyrics. I forgot. I'm going to look them up now.
Oh, surely you know them.
Somewhere
really. Beyond the sea.
Somewhere waiting for
me. Golden Sands.
It's something about my love resides on
in the
golden
ships.
tides.
Somewhere.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watch the ships go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there waiting for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then I'd go straight to her arms, I'd go sailing. It's far beyond the stars, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing. I know beyond a doubt,
Okay, I think...
my heart, I'm nearly done. My heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet, I know we'll meet beyond the shore. We'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and I'll never again go sailing. No more sailing. So long sailing. Bye-bye sailing. I wanted to get to the
Actually,
end.
I'm very glad you did finish that, because that's a hilarious ending.
I really wanted to get to
No
the
more
end.
sailing. So long sailing. Bye-bye sailing. Ah, that's fantastic. Yeah. First of all, I don't remember that being at the end of Finding Nemo.
I don't remember it being in Finding Nemo. I was going to say that. I was like, I don't actually... I guess it's in the credits or something?
I guess it is. Maybe we should have checked that before we started recording.
We should have. I haven't watched Finding Nemo in about a decade.
I can't watch it.
Well, because of the sharks.
There are two reasons. I'm now frightened of sharks. Obviously, I wasn't when I was a child, or maybe I was.
Maybe
and
this
that's
is
what-
why you were
That's
afraid of
why I'm
sharks.
afraid of sharks. But I can't watch it now, even though they're like cartoon. The whole point is they're friendly.
What about fish are friends, not food?
I know, but I can't. There's like the bit where it first comes in, and Dory's in that like, and
Escapade.
it's escapade, yeah, that bit, and the jaws come in behind her. Oh, I can't do it. It's awful.
A cartoon of a fish.
And then the other reason is because of Knick Knack. We can talk about Knick Knack.
Should we tell the Knick Knack story?
Okay. So this is probably something I should work out in therapy. This is me sharing my formative early memories. But on the Finding Nemo DVD, or if you went to see it in the cinema, there would be a short that played before it, akin to some of the iconic ones you may remember, Jerry's Game, or the one where the birds land on the phone line. Classic.
Yeah.
But for me, the most iconic one is Knick Knack, which involves a sort of happy-go-lucky protagonist by the name of... Actually, I don't think he has a name. He's a snowman who lives inside a snow globe on a shelf of
An office of some kind.
novelty decorations. And there are also some other decorations on this shelf. I'm going to explain the whole plot of the thing, by the way. And don't cut this out.
Go on, continue. Take me there.
Yeah. I remember it shot for shot. This is the thing. There are some like palm trees with sunglasses on and like summery scenes, including a woman in a bikini. Now, we were talking about the cinematic male gaze before. Really, this was my first introduction.
Here it comes again.
Into the patriarchy as a small child. The woman sort of waves at the snowman, and he is obviously immediately very attracted to her. He does like an eyebrow raise to the camera, and then he spends the whole short trying to figure out different ways to get out of the snow globe.
To go hang out with her.
Yeah, one of them being getting like a jackhammer and like drilling it into the thing, and then he drills so hard that his face falls off.
And this was apparently the world's funniest thing.
Yes.
To a 3-year-old Ariel.
Yeah, so basically...
Specifically that bit.
Specifically the bit where his face falls off. I found it so funny as a child. There's also a bit I remember where he takes his nose off. It's a carrot.
Yeah.
And he like hammers it into the wall. I don't know what he was trying to achieve, but it just becomes all bent, and then he sticks it back in, his nose is all bent down. That was also very funny to me as a child. Basically, I found this short so funny that I watched it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's become cemented in my subconscious, and like even I can hear the music in my head right now, and like
Didn't we have to buy the DVD of Finding Nemo
so I could have Knick Knack? Yes.
Not because we wanted Finding Nemo, but because you needed Knick Knack.
I needed it. Spiritually, emotionally. And I the music like still gives like a visceral reaction when I hear it, or like I did watch it again fairly recently, and it's so weird to me because I have all these really weird early memories of being obsessed with it. But it's not even like a concrete memory. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a feeling or an idea.
You were so little when it was happening. Yeah. If anyone's wondering, he does get out of the snow globe.
Oh, very briefly. The snow globe falls off the shelf, and he sees that there's a door in the bottom. It says something funny on it, like in case of emergency, open. And he does open it, and he sort of falls out. And he's like, oh my God, I'm free. And he goes to walk over to the woman. Oh no, he falls into a fish tank.
Yeah, he gets stuck in a fish tank.
So he's like, oh, I'm in an even bigger snow globe, oh no. But then there's like a sexy mermaid in the fish tank, and he's like, oh, perfect. He goes to walk over to her, and then the snow globe lands on top of him.
Yeah.
He's trapped again.
It's great. Cinematic masterpiece.
I still do find it quite funny, but
I mean,
I have a very complicated relationship with it.
It's not unfunny. But I mean, you were 3, so it's all obviously going to be funnier.
I didn't anticipate we were going to be unpacking all of that today.
Do you feel okay? Do you need to take a break?
I'll be alright.
Okay.
I'll be alright.
You're so strong.
Thank you. I was going to talk about A Quiet Place, but fuck my drag, I guess.
Fuck A Quiet Place. Talk about Nick.
I always think of it when I hear Beyond the Sea, because it's quite relevant to that. I've only seen part 2, by the way, gang. I'm not even going to bother trying to explain it because it's not that interesting. But in part 2, there's like a bit where they find out that there are other human beings still alive, blah, 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 because they hear Beyond the Sea playing on the radio. And at first they're just like, oh my God, amazing. But then one of them figures out that it's like a coded message. And basically this group of people have figured out that the aliens can't cross water. So you have to go beyond the sea, and you can get to like a safe haven. And they have this little like community living on this island where they're allowed to talk and everything, and they're all right.
Well, that's quite clever.
So I guess a similar thing.
Yeah, I do think Somewhere Beyond the Sea, has a significance in that obviously they are lost beyond the sea. For Saeed, my lover waits for me.
Yeah, Nadia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Sands. The beach.
It's far beyond the stars. It's near beyond the moon, They're in an unreachable place. It's not exactly electric lyrics. There's not a lot to unpack here. It's kind of just, I'm on the ocean and my wife isn't.
Yeah, who wrote it?
Bobby Darin. Well, it says it was written by Albert Lasry, Charles Trennett, and Jack Lawrence.
Well, they're no
Bobby
Hosier.
Darin song. They're no Hosier, that's very true.
But it's certainly relevant. But I think what stands out most to me about the scene is that Shannon is so very clearly dubbed over.
Yeah, she's clearly not singing that live.
That is not her singing.
Well, I do mean it might be her singing, but it's not her singing in the moment.
I doubt it. It could be, I guess, but it really doesn't look like it at all.
It's definitely not sung live. It's definitely
so obviously. Like, her mouth is just not moving in the way that you would. And I'm no singer. I'm not criticising if Maggie Grace can't sing and they got someone to dub it over. It's just so obvious.
But also, it didn't need to be good singing.
No, but for some reason they thought it did, because it is sung really well.
Yeah. This is a thing I've noticed a lot in, like, media, whenever like someone is singing just like a lullaby to a baby or whatever, it always has to be really good.
Yeah,
it's always like recorded over with someone else, or it's like done in a really professional way, or it's like clearly like been like trained for, and it's like sometimes we sing songs and we're not good, and
you're full of profound quotes today.
It's the new year. New year, new me.
New year, new me. I'm a philosopher now.
Just like John. John's barely in this episode.
Yeah.
He's in like one scene with the axe.
Well, he's hanging out with Boone, isn't he? He's in the jungle with the bit of metal that they found under the ground. Side note, the bit where Shannon's like, why are you spending so much time with John? Is he your new boyfriend? Boone doesn't say no.
Boone gay confirmed.
Boone does not say no.
My genuine working theory is that Boone is supposed to be queer and Shannon is supposed to be homophobic. I genuinely think... Listen, we're very starved for queer representation in this show.
We sure are.
We're not starved of homoeroticism.
No.
By any means. But what we are starved of is canon representation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like kind of the closest we get.
A homophobic comment.
A homophobic comment by a scathing younger sister. I think Boone is bisexual. And I think Shannon is homophobic.
I mean, I can't really argue with you there.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I'm letting you cook. Like, it's very weird that we see so little of that plotline, because obviously that's so cool. So we talk about Claire being lost and me being like, lost? And me being like, you should be focusing on that. I would say you should be focusing on that. That should be the A plot, and then the B plot should be, what the fuck is that piece of metal under the floor?
I think it's really fun that they've been like, Boone says to Shannon, we're looking for Claire. We know that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that what they're doing is not telling anyone that they found metal under the island. It's been 4 days. What else have they found? Surely they've tried to uncover it. They've tried to investigate.
Yeah,
we
but
don't get to see.
Us. I want to know.
But we get to see soon.
So annoying.
But we get teased with that a little bit. It's like a little
Instead,
reminder.
we get fucking Saeed and Shannon. Can I just say, I don't think there's anything remotely flirtatious nor romantic in the scenes that they have together.
I mean,
in this episode, like, nothing is hinting towards that, apart from the fact that she's, like, literally topless once again, the cinematic male gaze making a comeback.
Yeah, the cinematic male gaze is strong in this episode.
Apart from that being very odd, and kind of like, is this what they're going for? Some kind of, like, thing. Like, I don't think any of the scenes of them translating the French is romantic in any way. I think they're just, like...
Because it's like, oh, they try to spin it to be like, oh, Boone says... she's useless. Saeed shows her that she's useful and he's trying to get her involved and get her to... But also it's like no one else on the island speaks French. He's asked her because she speaks French. It's not like a ploy to go and chat with Shannon.
No.
It's because she speaks French.
And also, like, it doesn't turn into that. Do you know what I mean? It's very focused on the task at hand.
And Saeed, ever the practical, is like, let's translate
And also,
this.
he literally gets annoyed with her.
Yeah.
Like, he is super pissed off with her in all of this. And it's
He's
like...
really bitchy to her the whole episode.
And it's like, how is this the start of their relationship? Which, if you're a first-time watcher... I'm sorry. I'm sorry, okay, for what's about to come. In many ways.
In many ways, I'm sorry. In immediacy, I'm very sorry for what's about to come.
We don't have to talk about that yet, do we?
We don't. Next episode's going to be a doozy.
Oh, God. Strap in.
Yeah.
But I will say the thing that I do like about those scenes is, as you were saying, like, I actually think it's a really good... an interesting character trait of Shannon's is that she's like, I'm useless, I can't help.
Yeah, because it seems like it's very much a self-fulfilling prophecy of her thinking she's just like a useless, rich girl, she's not learned to do things for herself, she can't be helpful, which means she just never gets involved.
Yeah.
Which means everyone else just thinks she can't help.
But I don't know about you, but I was expecting, like, Boone being mean to her, being like, you're useless, then Saeed comes to her and she's like, and she's suddenly really good at translating all of this and she's really helpful and he's like, you're the best. What actually happens is her going, I can't do it, I'm useless. And I think that's really interesting because it kind of like, not only does it sort of show how important Boone's opinion of her is, even though she would never admit that, but it also kind of shows like her stubbornness and kind of like... that aspect of her character.
Like, she clings to the fact that she's useless.
Yeah. And I do think that is quite interesting. That it kind of, like, subverts your expectations.
I'm really not a fan of Shannon. I don't like her, but I think if you really try, you can kind of find some interesting layers and, like, complexities to her character. But I think she's just not given the time of day by the writers to develop that at all.
No, and when she is given the time of day, it's forcing this weird-ass romance into it.
Yeah, it's in the context of men.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's so true, actually.
God, I really am on it today.
You are.
So, a thrilling moment we get from this episode is Sawyer calling another man daddy.
Yeah, that was weird.
How fascinating is that one?
I completely forgot that happened.
Yeah. As soon as he said it, though, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this.
No, I'd completely forgotten. I wrote down Michael equals daddy, ?
Yeah. I don't know what he was going for with that. I don't know what he was trying to, like, psych him out somehow.
Yeah, I think so. It's just funny, honestly.
So...
My theory is that Josh Holloway just threw that in there.
Wasn't scripted.
It wasn't scripted. He was just like, I'm having fun today.
So, I actually really love this moment. I love...
Do you now? Do you know?
What's that supposed to mean?
You're a Jack and Sawyer shipper now, aren't you?
No. No, what I love about this moment is it's the first instance of the Jack surprising you narrative that I've discussed. That doesn't make any sense to you guys. It should make sense to Ariel.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, right. Give me a second. So Jack, the thing about Jack's character is I love him, but also is that he, like, because he's framed in the narrative as, like, the hero and the good guy and, like, the one who, like, he's, like, the straight man character. Like, he has the most boring backstory. And then what you get from this is a moment which happens again later in the series, and there's one really significant moment where it happens in series 3, where Jack suddenly surprises you. He does something a lot more, like, hot-headed and a lot more, like, strong, and makes a move, like, almost a bit more of a move as a leader, that you go like, oh, I wasn't expecting that from him. But it's not out of character. It's just that you've been drawn into this narrative that he's, like, the boring one. Like, by the narrative, and so he surprises you. But I would say this moment with the antibiotics, where he threatens to take away Sawyer's antibiotics.
I mean, it's really sinister.
It's a bit of an evil moment from
Definitely.
Jack. Like, it's a moment where Jack becomes the villain for a second. He becomes, like, the, like, assertive one. And, like, you know, that's a threat. That's an active threat of, like, physical violence. Sure, it's passive, you know, he's not going to cut off Sawyer's arm, but it's something that you don't expect to come from him. And that happens a little bit in this episode further with just, like, the thing with the key.
Sure. Would you think it's fair to say, though, that the sort of psychological torture that Jack is trying to employ in this situation doesn't work because Sawyer is simply turned on by the suggestion and the situation?
I mean, there's a level of that for sure.
Okay. Oh, he most certainly is. That scene is so...
There's a level... It's when he has...
Velvet and I are not massive Jack and Sawyer shippers. Okay, I know there's a lot of you out there.
I think Jack deserves better.
I never really saw it hugely. I was just like, oh, it must be because they're in this kind of love triangle with Kate. But holy fucking shit, was I proved wrong. This scene
is really something. Let's unpack it. So it starts. Sawyer is inexplicably tying something.
Just casually. Just tying something.
And Jack walks up and says something to him. He turns around.
Looks over the shoulder.
With a little sort of butt pop. And says, hey, doctor.
Yeah. And then turns fully back around just to really show the arse off. Just so he can get the full view of the arse.
And Jack tries to take it, and Sawyer, like, keeps hold of it so their faces stay really close together.
Brings him in. Oh my god. I also wrote down the line, what, we're gonna wrestle for it?
He's like, please say yes, please say yes, please
Bro
say
is
yes.
not subtle. Yeah, not letting the go of the case is so homoerotic. I've written that down too. Yeah, that scene, man, funny.
It's a very funny scene. It's a big relief because a lot of this episode, every scene I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And another thing. And then that one's just quite funny. It's
Apart
quite
from
nice.
the threatening to stop the
Apart from
antibiotics.
but like I like that because I like Jack. And I like that moment. Oh, I mean, do you think it's an empty threat?
I'm not sure. I think probably because Jack ultimately is a doctor and cares about the safety and well-being of his patients. Because, you know, we had that whole thing of, I'm going to kill him. That wouldn't fix anything. No, but it would feel good. And it's like,
Yeah.
so he's fine to say these things, but he's not going to actually kill him.
Yeah, I think I'm undecided on whether it's an empty threat or not. I think the thing is, Jack didn't have to decide if it was an empty threat or not because he knew it would work.
Yeah.
And that's...
And also,
okay.
Sawyer's got no stakes in having the case, really.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about this whole narrative, because why so many things? Why
Why so many?
is Sawyer obsessed with keeping the case? And why is Kate, like, so... like, lets him keep it so easily, but then won't let him keep it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really strange. It's a bit like the same narrative of when, like, Kate says to Jack, I want to tell you what I did, and he's like, no, I don't need to know. And then, like, 2 episodes later, he's like, tell me what you did. And it's like, you had your chance. Like, Kate lets Sawyer take the case.
This is what I don't understand, because she's
And
like,
she's immediately trying to take it
help
back.
me with that case. Oh, wait, I thought we were disgusting for stealing stuff off corpses. I'm going to say something smug and weird. And then she goes, it's mine. They get the case. And then he's like, it's not yours, is it? And she immediately goes, no. Like, what the hell? Kate.
Liar supreme, Kate Austen.
But she is.
And then she just goes, yeah.
She is a great liar, and we see that in the flashbacks and on the island. But it's like, why does she just say, no, it's not mine? Because I don't understand. Well, because she doesn't have the key on her? She could have lost the key in the crash.
Yep.
She could have lost the key in the crash. I don't know why I went so high.
I know that she knows how they have to get the key, obviously, is digging up the marshal, but, like, she could have just done that. You know?
Yeah. I don't think anyone would have batted an eye if they found Kate exhuming a corpse.
Probably just been like, yeah.
Just girl stuff. Girls being girls.
So they don't know what women do.
Mm-hmm.
What do women talk about? Hairbrushes and exhuming corpses.
That's the best way to pass the Bechdel test. Me and Bestie exhuming a corpse together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then he's like, well, I'm gonna keep it, and she's like, okay, keep it. Whatever, like, I don't care. But then spends the entire episode trying to get it off him, to the point where it's between his legs while he's asleep, and she still tries to go grab it off him.
Because, like, I was gonna say, like, oh, she does not so bothered about getting the case because she knows she has to get the key first, and she knows he's not gonna get into it, so it's not like she can just kind of let him tire himself out, so to speak, trying to break it open. But yeah, she does go to quite extreme measures to try and get it off him.
Mm-hmm.
When she could have just said...
I did think that was kind of a girl boss move, though. I love the headbutt. So funny. Especially because Sawyer's just being his disgusting smug self, and she's just like...
It's the way she just has no time for it. She's just like, get off me.
Yeah,
and
completely.
also when, like, she does it again, and then he's like, that's not going to work on me this time, and then it just does.
And then it does. Immediately double headbutt. I love
headbutt.
Kate is so funny.
I love her
She
so
really
much.
does. She really kind of is in her brute force caveman era in this episode.
She
Throw
is.
rocket man, headbutt man,
That bit,
double
it's
headbutt
like, it's a
man.
bit Looney Tunes, this episode. I've got it written down.
Yeah.
It's like, because also they're like climbing up the tree to throw the case on the thing, and then she just runs out from the bushes and picks it up and runs away again. That's the kind of stuff that happens in a children's cartoon.
It's very Looney Tunes. And I find that scene really weird as well, where he's like, she's trying to dive for it and he's like pulling it away from her and stuff. I don't like that. It gives a very sort of parent-child dynamic, which I find really uncomfortable.
Very creepy given the rest of the context of their dynamic.
I really don't like that scene at all. But yeah, it is very like all the different ways that Sawyer is trying to open the case is almost a comedy, right?
Yeah.
Slapstick.
Also, I really love the scene where I forget the name of the lock, but where Michael is like, yeah, I know we talked about the daddy thing, but where Michael is like, you're not gonna be able to open that, and then Hurley's like, what's he doing? It's like, he's trying to open it or whatever, and he's like, ah, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, why do they all know so much about fucking suitcases and locks?
It sounds so stupid, because it's like, I like to think Hurley has no idea what Michael's talking about, and he's like, I'm just gonna fuck with Sawyer.
That'd be funny.
Just like, ha, good luck, man. Just to annoy Sawyer. Because, like, what do you mean a humbug lock or whatever it's called?
No, not a fucking clue.
No idea. Man stuff, I don't know. What are men talking about? Locks. Locks and antibiotics.
So, yeah, the bit where Kate then goes to Jack is interesting.
Yeah. So this is a very fascinating episode for the Kate-Jack dynamic.
I mean, it makes sense if from Kate's perspective, right?
Yeah,
She's like, I've tried everything with Sawyer. I'm now gonna go to
my other boyfriend. See what he'll do.
Yeah. I feel like in her mind it's like, well, Jack's obviously going to be able to convince him to give me the keys.
Yeah. And I think also getting Jack on your side is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think what she doesn't want is for Sawyer to start telling people. And then for it to be like a more of a sort of, don't let Kate have the case. Something interesting in that scene as well, when Kate goes to Jack, is she said as a way to kind of get him on his own, I guess, to get him on her side, she says, you're the only one who knows about me. Mm-hmm. Presumably about me, meaning that I'm a criminal.
Yeah.
Hurley also knows. Kate doesn't know that. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, Kate doesn't know that Hurley knows.
Kate doesn't know, because Jack just says, I saw your photo. Doesn't say, and by the way, Hurley also saw it.
That is interesting. And also, neither Kate nor Jack know that Sun now knows. Because Sun is there.
Yes, she is! I forgot about that!
How could you forget? That's so cool! She's eavesdropping on the conversation, but obviously neither of them think that she can speak English, so they're just like, oh, let's just talk openly.
They're not worried.
But there's like a shot of her where she's like,
wow.
That's exciting. And obviously they don't say specifics. They don't say, like, the word criminal or anything, but they do say guns and marshal and stuff. So I think
she's connected the dots.
She's connected the dots, the cogs are turning, she's putting two and two together. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Very
I
cool.
didn't even like, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. And we also had the really fun clip, which is used on a lot of like out of context videos, where it's like Jack's talking to Sun and he's like, so what are these for? And she goes like, oh, and he goes, headache. Cool.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Because it's just... it's sweet in context, but out of context it's like so silly. Yeah. Just the way he's like, cool.
Cool.
Oh dear.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, Hurley is also aware. And it's like anyone could know. In theory.
He shouted it.
Also because Jack shouted in the woods, but also because Hurley could have just told people.
Yeah.
You know, Jack never went to Hurley and was like, we have to keep this a secret. And, like, Hurley, I'm sure, hasn't been telling people, but he could have been.
Well, we don't know if Jack might have gone to him and said, we need to keep this a secret. It might have been an
off-screen, we need to keep this a secret moment. But this stuff is so cool. The thing, the bit where they dig up the marshal.
Yeah, I mean...
Can we talk about how insane that scene is?
Oh my God.
First of all, completely forgotten that scene even existed.
Really?
I have no memory of that. I didn't genuinely, if you'd asked me the plot, I would have said, and then they get the key somehow. I could not remember.
Oh, I do remember that because, well, you know that I love skeletons, right? I'm a bit obsessed with skeletons. And I also love the marshal. So
it all comes together.
But yeah, I kind of really liked that scene and seeing like how far the body had decomposed and stuff.
It's really gross. All the like so maggots grim. And the bugs and stuff.
The maggots. Oh. And also like I feel like her reaction is really subdued to seeing all the maggots. Like I would scream.
And that's like you know, it's a little bit more of a hint at Kate's past. It's like, if this has engrossed her, what has she done?
Very true, very true.
And like the way they're kind of like, they have to do it, and like where Kate says like, why didn't you burn him with the rest of the bodies, and Jack says, I had to bury him. That's such like a powerful moment.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about
like
the person who he was, rather than the sort of corpse that he's become.
The corpse that he is, and like how much that's affected Jack, because that's not really come up.
No.
But it's like, Jack had to kill him.
Yeah. It's very, you're dealing with post-traumatic stress, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much happening that Jack hasn't even really had time to process the grief and guilt and all of these complex emotions that I'm sure arose when he killed the Marshal.
And burying that, it must have been a way for him to sort of put that away.
Yeah. And I feel like it's... Do you remember in episode 1 where Kate has to pick the shoes off a corpse?
Yes.
And it's the bit with the orange peel.
Yeah.
That was I kind of forgot about scenes that are so important to Ariel. Do you remember I tried to introduce that as a format point?
To me. It was that, and then it was something in part 2.
The spinning scene.
The spinning.
Well, I'd go ahead and throw...
Would you really bring in burying, digging up the Marshal?
No. Maybe I'd throw in Shut Up, Jason.
Shut Up, Jason.
I love that scene. That's important to me in a different way, because I find it so funny.
Should we talk about Shut Up, Jason?
Hang on, I was going to quickly just say, my point was that I was like, a line has been crossed when she takes the shoes off the corpse. And I feel like another line is crossed in this moment, because it's like, they're digging up bodies now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so grim when you think about it.
It's such a weird, like, it's a weird kind of normality in that it's like, we're digging up some bones because a living man kept something in his pocket.
Yeah.
I think it's done in a really brilliant way.
How cool is that?
And like, and the wallet, I mean, the wallet's all covered in maggots and it's gross, but like, it's just such an interesting thing.
Yeah.
That also, like, they were using things like ID cards and passports to identify all the people, like in Claire's memorial service. It's a really interesting kind of thing to bring back. Again, like we were saying, they're bringing back the dead bodies of the people in the plane crash. We're kind of bringing this back to, like, there was a crash, you know, and people died, and it's like reminding you of what happened at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it's done really well, like, narratively.
Especially because we're about halfway through the series now, right? We're getting up to that mark.
Episode 12, what is this, 22 episodes?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like trying to sort of tie it back to where we've come from and stuff.
That's really amazing, actually. All the Best Cowboys being the halfway point in the series.
I think there's more than 22 episodes. Check, but...
Is there 24? Okay, so the halfway point would be next episode.
Why is that the halfway point?
I guess this episode you could count as the halfway point.
Yeah. Okay, so we're about halfway through the series, roughly. We're...
Ish.
Yeah. The space, the empty space between this episode and next episode is the halfway point.
The week.
But yeah, don't you think it's so cool when she does the sleight of hand?
Yeah.
And then gets found out.
And it's the way Jack's just like, nice trick. Give me a key.
But that's like a really... such an awkward moment, isn't it? Not awkward as in I felt the second-hand awkwardness, like being found out in a lie.
Yeah, it's almost
so
like
horrible.
It's like an embarrassment.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's like she didn't get away with it, and it's like it's embarrassing. Which I think it's one of those things of bringing, like we talked about Sadie's little hissy fits, is like bringing it back to the kind of much less extreme emotions.
But I do think it is kind of extreme because they're like friends, and he's like, you just tried to trick me.
Yeah.
So I do think it matters quite a great deal to both of them. But I get what you mean, that she is just embarrassed. And it's like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. But now they have the key. And they can unlock the box. And I think that's a great segue. Seamless. For us to start talking about the flashbacks.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to point out within these flashbacks is that safety deposit box is number 815.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Which the astute observers of you might have remembered is the flight number. Oceanic 815. And it's just a cheeky little cameo.
Absolutely. There are so many things, like the fact that it's a deposit box 815 and that there's a toy plane in there. It's one of those moments that makes you think this was all fate. This was all meant to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like we've had the psychic a couple episodes ago being like, you know, you're meant to raise this child, you're meant to get, he knew that she was going to get in the plane crash and all of this.
Yeah.
And you kind of have, is it destiny for Kate to be in the plane crash as well? Is it destiny for them to meet and fall in love? Did the psychic see that? He's like, don't worry, babe, you're going to go to an island, you're going to have lesbian experiences, it's going to be great.
It's going to be an amazing time. You're also going to get kidnapped, but don't worry about that part. Focus on the gay bit.
As we try to do. Yeah. I actually really like the flashbacks in this episode. I think they're used quite sparingly, which I think is quite nice. It's because, you know, we talked about something like Jin and Sun's one, where it's the whole span of their relationship. It's multiple years.
Yeah.
This is literally a couple hours.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is really nice. I kind of like that, you know. It's almost like a closed narrative in and of itself.
Yeah, no, it's really, really nice. And, like, what we get from Kate is it doesn't reveal very much about her, but what it reveals about her is, like, how good she is at pretending to be someone she isn't. Like, the whole thing, you know, Maggie and her photography career. Big up Maggie.
We love Maggie.
And, like, yeah.
There's so many levels of acting in this bit, right? Because it's like she's pretending to fill out this, she's pretending to be someone who she's not, she's pretending to take out like a legal document or whatever it is. Is it a bank account that she's trying to start?
I think so.
I can't remember, but it's something legal, right? And she's using a fake name and a fake identity in all of this. So there's that. Then there's like the whole I don't know how to use a gun thing, and then she gets taken into the back room, and it's like we see that this is all a setup, and she's
with the guy
dating the bank robber
Jason.
And
but
then it's even more.
Shut up, Jason. She was pretending the whole time just to get the safety deposit box.
Yeah.
And, like, this is, like, then we have this, the man she loved / the man she killed.
Well, we're skipping ahead a bit. Can we talk more about the flashbacks?
We can talk more about the flashbacks, but I'm just saying that's then the next kind of revelation of the flashbacks, is we have this plane that belonged to this guy.
That was going to be my alternative. If I wasn't going to do the headbutt, I was going to just go, shut up, Jason. Because it's one of my favourite lines.
It's a great line.
I just love it. I will, like, throw it into conversation. It's one of those quotable moments for me. Shut up, Jason.
Shut up, Jason.
It's just so funny.
Because it's just, like... It's just so
It's
great.
like Kate is really badass in that moment.
Yeah.
You know? And she literally... She doesn't kill Jason, does she? Because he's there,
He's still telling her she's a bitch from before. But I think she kills at least one of the other guys.
She shoots to kill the other.
She shoots to kill. Whether they die, we don't know. But you're very right.
Jason might die bleeding out from his leg wound, we don't know. But yeah, that's really like... That's a big moment, right? Because, you know...
And like the contents of the box
is so important
so much to her that she's willing to kill 3 men over it.
Yeah.
Not only is she willing to lie about a relationship, you know, fake a whole thing, rob a bank, have a new identity, all of that, but she's also willing to potentially kill 3 men.
Yeah.
Just to get this plane.
We haven't seen that side of her yet, because on the island and in the previous flashback, we know she's on the run, but she's still like she's still got that goodness, hasn't she? Because she like saves the man from the burning car and stuff. And it's like, maybe she is still acting in terms of goodness in this scenario because she's very kind to the bank teller.
I was going to say, there is still a bit of, like, she tries to save him because Jason's going to shoot him.
Yes. And Jason's a bit of a dickhead.
And that's, like, her breaking point, is, like, when Jason starts threatening to kill that guy.
Yeah.
That's when she, like, reveals herself. So there's still, like, an element of that kind of good in trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's taken to the extreme, and we're talking about ethical and moral dilemmas. Hello.
I still love Kate. Jason sucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised that you said at the top of this episode that it's, it's not wanting effect, because I think you're much more of a Kate fan than I am.
I'm a Kate fan. Kate does a lot of things that I disagree with. But I would put that down to the cinematic male gaze and not her as a character. A lot of times she does stuff and I'm like, it's okay, I know this isn't you. I know this was the men.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Agreed. And I can sometimes find her kind of annoying.
Sometimes she is quite annoying.
But I do think she has some good moments, and I really like this set of flashbacks for her. But not necessarily her on island stuff.
I mean, the headbutting.
The headbutting, yes, I do enjoy. And I do think that final scene between her and Jack is really well acted by her. Like, Evangeline Lilly, when Jack is opening the case, it looks like she's about to cry in that moment. And it's like, this is so... Again, it's like the safety deposit box. It's like, we don't know why this means so much to her, but we can see that it does.
Yeah, and you don't see what it is until that moment as well, because when she opens the safety deposit box, it's like in an envelope. So this is the final moment where you find out what it is that she's done all this stuff for.
Yeah. Why does Jack feel the need to rifle through the cash?
In case there's something in there.
It just seems so weird to me.
Just checking.
It felt like one of those weird little masculine things that Sawyer's been doing.
There. Maybe he just always wanted to.
Maybe.
Like, you tell me you wouldn't pass up an opportunity to, like, do that. I've never held a wad of cash.
No.
I'd love to do a little riffle.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would love to do a little riffle. I would probably just try and figure out a way to stuff that cash into my pocket without anyone noticing.
I'd love to do a little, like, it's all there.
That's some pretty impressive sleight of hand. That would be me stealing all the money.
I don't think it would be impressive sleight of hand so much as it would be you going... looking around and then shoving it in your pocket really obviously.
Pretty impressive.
But yeah, so what's in there? Cash, guns, and this little plane.
And the little plane. So my guess is that it was on her when she was apprehended.
Yeah.
And that's why the marshal has it in his special suitcase.
Yeah, so what I would assume in terms of timeline is this happened. Obviously it happened in America. I think they did say where it was, didn't they?
New Mexico?
Okay. America. I don't know where in America that is. America somewhere. She's gotten hold of gone to Australia. Probably not directly. I would say she probably was in some other places first.
Connecting flight.
And the whole time she's just kept the plane on her. So then when she was arrested, it was just like her belongings.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably kept it maybe partly because it might have some significance. But also probably partly as like a got your plane.
Oh, definitely. I think
got
it's
your plane.
Because her and the marshal have that whole kind of trying to get one up on each other thing, So I definitely think it's partially that, but it could also be evidence, yeah. But I'd assume that because, you know what I just thought? I didn't even consider this before, but it's kind of similar to like Saeed's pictures of Nadia.
Yeah,
because
it's like a memory of home.
A memory of home. He doesn't have them after the crash, right? And then they're found, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is such a big moment for me." And it's like you think about all these things that these characters carry with them, and like he's not been carrying that with him. How does that affect his being? And I think that's probably the same for Kate. That's why she goes to such extreme lengths to try and get it, because it's like she's always had that on her. And
in a way, it's similar to Sawyer's letter as well.
Yes, I was going to just say that.
He actually didn't lose that. He's still had it on him, so even in the crash, he didn't have that brief moment of being disconnected from the things that he carries with him, metaphorically, emotionally, and physically.
Yeah. But Kate did, and in not only that, like, she probably never thought she was going to find it again because it's in this locked case, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
and obviously
that's
if she thought she'd be able to get access to it again, she probably would have just nicked the key before they buried him.
Yeah.
Nadia, the man she loved.
But also the man she
killed.
Which, I mean, Saeed thinks that he's responsible for Nadia's death. He's like, I believe that she's alive, but I also...
She might have died because of him.
Because of me. And he even says that first to Rousseau, and it's like, I mean, I don't know what you think about that scene. I, first of all, think it's not incredible. It's giving tell me what you did energy from Jack. It's like, stop being such a bitch.
It is a bit like, it is a bit like, stop being such a bitch. But also, like, I do understand why he's upset, because it's like, he's just dug up a body.
Yes.
You know, he's threatened to kill Sawyer to get this key for her. Like, I'd want an explanation.
I think if it was me, though, there'd be more confusion in the voice. Yeah. I'd be like, what the fuck is that? You went through all of this for a toy plane?
Yeah, there'd be more like, and where's the other thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's quite sinister about it. And I don't know about you, but I immediately thought, well, she just lied about it belonged to the man I loved.
Yeah.
And she's like, that would be reasonable.
It's an easy way out.
To say, that's why it means so much to me, belong to the man I loved, and then we have it belong to the man I killed. So obviously this is a big revelation for the audience. The crime that Kate committed was murder or manslaughter.
Or something else.
But I imagine murder, since you would you be on the run in that way for manslaughter? Pretty reduced sentence, I guess.
I think if you'd accidentally committed manslaughter, you wouldn't have a marshal on your tail.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously that's a big revelation, and I think as I say, I think it's played really well by Evangeline Lilly, the kind of like breakdown and just tears that are coming from it, I think is really, it feels very real, because like at first I was a bit like, why is she crying so much? Because, you know, but it's like, no, because she's suddenly confronted with all of this stuff about her past, not least of all the marshal, but the man that she killed, the plane, like everything is coming up again.
The whole bank thing.
Yes,
obviously
yes,
she's thinking
completely.
about that as well.
And so it's like, and we know she shoots to kill in that situation as well, so double murder.
Yeah, I think also that's the level of the chasing from the marshal, is that she's committed this initial crime, but also
more
she's
crimes
doing
along the way.
Many an extreme crime, identity theft, fake bank account murder. She commits many a crime in that one scene.
Yeah.
In that one flashback. So clearly there's a build up.
Maybe the real federal offence was the crimes we committed along the way.
Wow. How powerful.
Thank you. I thought I'd have a turn at saying something profound.
Yeah, you did.
But I think it's played really shittily by Matthew Fox.
Yeah.
Because why is he so... I don't understand his reaction at all.
It's a very strange reaction.
To just be like...
To be really pissed off
angry and packing the stuff up angrily and then leaving. I'm like, what? I don't understand. I really don't understand how you'd have that response.
No, I don't know. I guess it's like, I did all that for a plane. He's kind of pissed off about that.
He's just generally pissed off at Kate. But he got what he wanted by getting the crime out of her.
Yeah.
And then he's immediately just like, it's not like even a fear response. Like that I would understand if he was suddenly afraid of Kate. I would understand like a compassionate response to try and like look after her when she's crying and stuff. But the anger, I really just don't get it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I know I'm number one Jack psychoanalyzer, but I've kind of got nothing.
No. I think it's stupid.
The other crazy significance of this moment, though, is that they now have more guns.
Yes.
So we have the marshal's gun. Most of the bullets were shot out killing the polar bear. The last one was used to not kill the marshal.
Mm-hmm.
We now have at least one more gun and a lot of bullets, presumably, that would go in the marshal's gun that they still have.
Yeah.
This changes things. This means, the dynamic might be different on the island. They now have these guns. Obviously, John's out hunting, but they could shoot the boars.
Mm.
And they could shoot each other.
Mm-hmm. But Jack and Kate are the only people that know that the guns exist.
Yes.
Because even Sawyer
didn't know what was in the case.
I mean, when you look back on it, it's like, bro was dropping guns from like a 30-foot height.
There's like, bullets have like gunpowder in them.
Yeah.
That he could have caused like an explosion or something. I don't know how guns work, but I would assume.
Yeah. Something could have gone down. I guess that's why it was protected by the Humbug halibut lock.
Right. Yeah.
But I did enjoy, I know you're cool, babe, but you're not that cool. And then she straight up shoots him. It's like, she is that cool.
Yeah, that's very funny. I like My Name's Not Maggie.
Yes,
just
that's
as a
good.
callback to My Name's Not Annie from the beginning. I like that that's obviously something that comes up a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the idea that she just kind of can't resist being like, and right before I leave your life forever, I lied.
I love the idea of that being the way that she delivers it. What are you gonna do? Silly goofy.
She's just a silly gal. So, there's one more big thing we need to discuss in this episode. And that is...
Saeed and Shannon know in all caps that I've written down.
No. It's something much more fun and exciting than that.
Okay.
Charlie and Rose.
Oh, yeah!
So I think every Rose moment is an iconic Rose moment.
Yes.
But I think this is a really amazing Rose moment. For a couple reasons. I think, first of all, her kind of treating Charlie like a normal person is really brilliant. Because obviously everyone's kind of tiptoeing around him. And I think the way she's just like, come on, get to it. I think it prompts a really nice discussion between them.
Yeah.
I think the conversation about like recovering from that kind of trauma and the talking about it, I think is actually really powerful. And I think it's really nice. I think there's an interesting kind of religious moment.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, I thought.
Which obviously we know Charlie is a Catholic.
Yes, a sort of relapsed Catholic.
Because we see him in confession right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that actually is probably a very helpful moment for him.
Absolutely, yeah. To be like, when she says like, I'm not the one who can help you, and then she starts like saying a prayer and stuff. It's like, I don't know if she sort of, perhaps because if she's also religious, she can kind of sense that he has...
Tell that he's also...
Yeah, this kind of Christian background. I don't know. Or if she's just sort of... what's the word? Sharing her faith.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I think it's quite a nice moment.
But I was surprised. I was surprised
by it though.
Rose
Yeah.
being a Christian, and I kind of forgot about it as well until this rewatch.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense what she's saying about like her husband being alive.
Yeah, I think this is the other thing I was going to say that I love about this moment is it's like it's someone else's turn to be like the sort of weird, mysterious old guy, you know? John's not really in this episode, so someone has to take up the reins. And she says a lot of kind of vague, mysterious things about her husband and like feeling. It's like she says like she has a sense, like she feels like he's not dead.
I think Charlie says like, how do you know? And she says, I just do.
Yeah.
Which I like.
She gets to be a bit mysterious and she gets to kind of hint at something else that might be going on. And I think
She's the best.
There's something incredibly iconic in her being like, just because you got hanged doesn't mean you don't have to help me carry this suitcase. Like,
God. I mean, it is kind of awful, isn't it?
You're like, for God's sake, Rose. He's just been through something. But it's like, that's what Charlie needs.
Yes.
You know? Charlie doesn't need someone else to be asking him if he's okay. He needs someone to treat him like a person and make him feel useful again, like he can do something.
This is the thing, like earlier on in the episode, so like a note here that I have, this is just underneath Michael equals daddy, question mark, just for context. I've written when Rose says, like, baby, I got stories for you and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've written, is it insensitive or is it helpful? But I think by the end of the episode, you realise that it is really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of both. You know, I think like at a certain point, I'm like, Rose, read the room.
Yeah.
Like, how bad can your stories be that it's worse than what just happened to Charlie?
Yeah.
You know? But I think it is helpful because I think it's kind of what Charlie needs to hear. You know?
And then you have the sort of interaction later on where he says, like, maybe I should have died. And she says, like, nobody blames you for what happened. And obviously that's something he definitely needs to hear.
100%.
And yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think Rose has quite a good emotional insight. And perhaps that's not one that the viewer has right at the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
But you sort of see it come to fruition at the end.
I think so. I think in the beginning you're kind of like, come on, Rose, read the room. And then by the end of it, it's like, yeah, it's really nice.
Mm-hmm. And I'd definitely forgotten about, like, Charlie crying and stuff. And
yeah, I completely forgot about Charlie crying.
As vulnerable as he is in that moment.
I think there's something really... I don't know if I've talked about it before, but something I really love about this show is the emotional vulnerability that comes from all the characters as like a blanket. Like there's a lot of moments of this show where I'm like, it's so like gendered and it's so like patriarchal, it's so misogynistic, whatever. But something that it really does really well on is that a lot of the men cry.
Yeah.
And a lot of the men are very emotionally vulnerable.
Yes.
A lot of the time. And we've already seen Jack cry a couple of times.
Kate is quite a masculine character, and she also has these walls built up and this kind of machismo, and she also becomes very emotionally vulnerable in this episode and cries a lot.
We also see her cry, and like the suggestion of like the love is more of a soft thing from her, which is one of the first kind of moments of that. I think it's something that the show does really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll shit on the writing a lot, but I think something the show does really well is the levels of emotional vulnerability we get from all the characters. And I think this moment with Charlie it's a really lovely example of that.
Yeah.
Because it makes it really obvious, and it says, you know, it's okay. We know you feel guilty. We know, you know, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're here for you. And it's really lovely.
It is really lovely. It is. It's just like, as important as it is to resolve Charlie's like emotional well-being, it's also important to find Claire.
Yeah. No, of course.
We need to go out
going through worse trauma right now? Probably Claire.
Her baby, who's probably, you know, prematurely about to be born out of stress.
Oh, the baby. What a guy. I can appreciate that they gave it the space to process, but also I'm like, but I want to know where Claire is.
Yeah.
And also, we don't know what's happening to her.
Yeah.
Like, both things are true, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I did right. It's a fine line between denial and faith. It's much better on my side, followed by she's such a queen.
It's a very iconic line. I did really love that.
She's such a queen. Because as well, like, I feel like she has this emotional insight, as I've kept saying, and it's almost like she's got more knowledge than Charlie, let's say, but she doesn't do it in like a kind of condescending way. No. She's not like,
which is something that
this
John
is what you need.
Catches a few times, of
yes.
being like, I know more than you, and Charlie's like, okay, call it.
Yeah, but she's very sort of, not jokey, but kind of like fun and like positive, and she's just like, radiates this lovely force.
It's like, especially with her husband, like with the conversation with Jack and this one, there's this instinct that they have to like let her down easy, and they have to be like, listen, Rose, I know this might be hard to believe, but your husband is probably dead. And she's like, yeah, like the like denial and faith, she's like, I know, but I believe it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like she's not in denial. She's not
exactly.
She's not like not processing what's happened. She has this belief.
Yeah, and she's not preachy about her faith.
No,
it's like, this helps me, and I think it can help you as well. Kind of situation. I don't know if you noticed this, and I assume it's intentional, but maybe kind of like a subtle thing, that like when the bank is being robbed, Kate is like, she's like knelt down on the floor in a kind of prayer-like position, and you can see like her reflection in the floor, and I think it's a really cool image, just like the cinematography.
That's a very nice image. Can we have a bit of appreciation for the guy who just like straight up rammed Jason? Legend.
Which bit?
When he's the guy who's like behind Kate and he's like, I can take him.
Oh yeah.
Like, he didn't know what was going on. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't know that no one was gonna die. He didn't know that Kate was in on it. Like, he was just ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to help people.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
What a guy.
Didn't go well for him, but he did his
No.
best.
Absolutely, he put himself out there in harm's way, you know? Also, I noticed that the bank robber calls Kate Curly. So it's like, you get over there, Curly, or something. And I'm like, again with the freckles thing.
What is it with these stupid fucking men and giving Kate the world's weirdest nicknames?
Yeah, because I don't think curly hair is her salient feature either.
Especially not, it's tied up.
It's tied up.
How do you know it's curly? Maybe it was a hint.
Maybe.
They knew each other.
How did you not pick up on this, people? Yeah, I'm happy to wrap up now. The only thing I've got left to say is actually right at the very end of the episode. It's like
we'll go on.
basically the final shot. There's a moment. So you've got this kind of like scene. They do this quite a lot, don't they? Where they end the episode on a more intimate scene, like it's nighttime.
Between a couple people, yeah.
And it's like we're all having our little isolated groups where we're snuggling up or whatever. You've got Charlie and Rose. You've got Said and Shannon, and Boone sinisterly observing from the distance. I guess that's supposed to be foreshadowing for the next episode, right?
Oh, yes.
But then you have Kate, like, I believe she sat by herself, and Jack looks over at her, and then he looks kind of back into the middle distance, and the camera's like really close to his face, and he has like this sort of furrowed eyebrows expression, and that really got me, because it was kind of like the thing I was saying about before. He's like, to me, that facial expression says, oh fuck, I'm in love with a murderer.
He's like, oh, she's killed someone. Like, what were you expecting?
He's like, gulp, you know? Awkward.
You know, he's like, oh no, I have a crush on her and she's killed people. I wouldn't list this under my top 10, anything like that.
No, me neither.
I would list the previous. I think because
Would you?
All the Best Cowboys is so great. And like I said, when, you know, you've heard this before, but I said, like, I think it's the scariest episode.
Yeah.
And I think the quality of the episode is so brilliant.
I do agree.
That I would rank it among, like, top, I would say. But this episode, I'm just like, it's okay. Yeah. It's good. It's a standard Lost episode level of quality for me, you know?
I'd agree. I think the thing for me is I am not so bothered about the on-island plot lines in this one.
Yeah.
So we've got, like, our A, B, and C, right? Plus the flashback. A being Kate, Sawyer, Jack. B being Shannon and Saeed, C being Rose and Charlie.
Rose, yeah.
Oh, and then I guess we've got one random scene with Boone and John.
Yeah, but that's more of just like a suggestion of the previous episode.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that plotline.
No. I don't really care that much about any of those. I really like the Rose and Charlie scenes, but I'm not
emotionally invested in where it goes.
I'm not like super in love with it like the other plot lines. But I do like the flashbacks in this episode. I think it's a very fun series of Kate flashbacks. And I just really like her kind of like switch to the badass Lara Croft mode and stuff. And obviously you've got the really intriguing, creepy toy plane.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I'd say I'm not wild about it, but I don't hate it.
I give
Average
it
Lost
like
episode.
like a 7 out of 10, maybe like a 6.5.
I'd go 6 out of 10. Yeah,
6.
Because it gets brought up by the flashbacks, but brought severely down by all of Sawyer's comments.
Featuring in the episode at all.
Yeah.
Remove him, I love this episode. So, yeah, we will speak to you guys next week for Hearts and Minds.
We will speak to you guys next week. It's like, according to my last email, I am out of office until next week.
We will speak to you guys next week about Hearts and Minds, regrettably.
Oh, God, gang.
It's not a good episode.
Gang, it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a fun one. We're going to have fun with it.
We're going to have to, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get through it. It is fucking awful.
I'm going to have words to say about this next episode.
It's one of the worst episodes of Lost.
I would rank it in bottom 10.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But tune in anyway.
Oh yeah, no, come on, guys.
We're going to have fun with it, and
you get to hear us rant, which is going to be entertaining.
We're going to talk about how much it sucks.
Yeah.
And we're going to have some fun with it. There's audio commentary, I think, on the next episode as well.
There is. We haven't had audio commentary in ages,
Yeah,
bro.
it's a really fascinating choice. Audio commentary.
Yeah.
When I think the last one we had was The Moth.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's like a massive gap.
Yeah.
So we're going to hopefully have some fun little behind the scenes
bits to share.
News for you guys. And yeah, it's going to be great fun. As always, follow us online, anywhere and everywhere, which is code for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Tumblr.
And Spotify.
And Spotify, obviously.
Yeah, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and leave us some little comments on the episode. Let us know what you thought. We'd love to hear from you.
We've got like 3 whole reviews right now.
I know, we
but
are
they're
rolling
all 5
in
stars.
Come on, we
The
know you
people
guys
lovers.
love the podcast. So yeah, please follow us on all of those things. Please follow me on do you know I heard myself mouthing off on one of the other episodes?
Yeah, you
where
were being
I'm
like, I'm never going to get TikTok.
I
Velvet
get
runs a
TikTok.
TikTok because I hate
Oh.
TikTok. And by the time that episode had come out, you had a TikTok.
Yeah. I've lived long enough to see myself become the villain.
I knew it would happen. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. So I have TikTok now, guys. I also have my own YouTube channel. It's at Ariel Hebditch on all of the things. Instagram as well as TikTok and YouTube. So please follow me on all of those. And don't hate me for being a hypocrite.
Big things in the works.
Mm-hmm.
We promise.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Strap in.
Bye.